today's video we're looking at the Voigtlander Color Skopar 50mm f2.5 LTM lens. This is not a new lens, but this particular copy is pretty much brand new. This is my second video for my recent trip. I share real life example photos, all the usual geeky test photos, some comparison photos to two lenses I have here, and hopefully by the end of the video we'll have some idea of whether or not you may want to get this lens. Hey guys, Matt here from MrLeica.com. So yes, today we're looking at a very small Leica screw mount lens, but here I've got it mounted on a Leica M-mount camera. I've been looking for one of these lenses for quite a while, and then one came up on eBay, and I just love how small it is. So that was my reason for buying it initially, and then I wanted to find out if it's any good or not. So I took this lens with me to Lanzarote, and this is the story of a large hill and a lens. I'll explain more about that as we get into the video. So first, let me tell you a bit more about the lens, and then we'll look at some example photos. So the Casino Voigtlander Color Skopar 52.8 is similar to my other Color Skopar lenses. See those videos. It comes with a screw-in hood and a 39mm filter thread. The minimum focus distance is 0.75 meters through to infinity and has a focus throw of about 90 degrees, so pretty short. A maximum f-stop of f2.5 with half-stop aperture clicks. This lens has 7 elements in 6 groups and 10 aperture blades. This lens is also multi-coated, as you can see from the colours. This is a very compact lens, but don't let the size fool you. Despite only being 23mm long, it weighs 200 grams or 7 ounces. It's pure brass and it's got a very smooth operation, very similar to Leica lenses. The size of the Color Skopar is almost identical to that of the Leica Summarit M, and both of these lenses are bigger than the old Elmar. So that is the lens spec. Let's now look at some example photos comparing the sharpness to Leica lenses. It's important for me to test lenses shooting towards a light because that's how I use them in real life. I took the center crop and then compared it 2.5 to 2.8, sharpness improves. 2.8 to f4, sharpness improves a lot. f4 to f5.6, even sharper, and f8 even sharper still. So the more you stop down, the better it gets. Next, comparing it to the Leica Elmar 5cm 2.8, there's more flare on the Elmar, but mine has got a bit of haze. Sharpness is similar. Next, compared to the Leica Summarit 2.5, the Leica Summarit is fantastic, wide open, and that's what you pay the extra money for, similar by 5.6. Next, I wanted to test the edge sharpness of the Skopar. So the edges just clean up with every f-stop as you stop down, and I would shoot at 5.6 f8 for clean edge-to-edge images. Okay, next up, lens characteristics. All photos coming up are shot with the Leica SL, because that's the camera I had with me when I was in Lanzarote. Sun stars. Like many Voigtlander lenses, the Color Skopar gives you really nice sun stars. Wide open at 2.5 is a bit of a mush, but from 2.8 onwards the sun stars get better and better up until maybe f16, f22, and then it goes back to a bit of a spray. When shooting towards the sun, I could also test lens flare, and as you can see, the lens is really well controlled. The Voigtlander Color Skopar colours are slightly warmer than Leica, and this works really well for sunsets. That is until the rain comes, and then I got completely drowned. Inside one of the apartments, the female owner liked the colour pink, so that made for a good colour test. And then did a walk along the coast. I was really pleased with the colours from this lens. Definitely one if you like to shoot colour film or digital. Lens bokeh, circular in the centre, as you can see from this crop, and then misshaped at the edges, but I quite like that for portraits. As you stop down, you can see a bit more of a jaggedy edge from the aperture blades. Vignetting, heavy-ish, wide open, and then as you stop down, as you see, it's gone by probably 5.6-ish, so pretty good. So those are the lens characteristics. Now let's look at more example pictures. Here's my silhouette when doing the sun-style shots. I quite like the framing of this. I quite like the game of composition. This was just various composition attempts. And then it was really windy with the sea, so I love the spray coming off the top of the waves. And these are more shots with RAW and then RAW plus preset, so you can see the effect of my Mr. Leica presets. I can put a link below if you're interested in presets for your camera. Next, this is RAW for skin tones, and now this is obviously RAW plus preset for the black and white shots. This is my shoot with violet, but the photos are earlier in the shoot. These are some film shots with the Leica 2F. So I'll stop the video for a second to say huge thanks to my awesome patrons. Patreon is my online teaching platform where I post a couple of times a week and try to teach people everything I'm learning and I know about model photography in particular, portraiture, a little bit of film photography, Leica, and anything else I come across. So let me explain. I saw this big hill from my apartment and I thought, oh, it would be very nice to take some pictures from the top. So I took my bike on the first day. I got most of the way on the road, and then the last bit, once it got steeper, I tried to attempt the sandy track on my road bike with slick tyres. Got a little bit of the way up, failed. Day 2, I took the bike back to the shop. See that in my Sigma 90mm video, which I posted a couple of days ago. Took the bike back to the shop and said, please, Mr. Bike Man, aka Max, can I have a mountain bike instead? So I swapped the road bike for a mountain bike with like big fat tyres for hopefully going off-road on the sand. Went back to the hill, cycled a bit further up the hill, and it was so steep I just couldn't keep the bike from spinning the back wheel, so failed yet again. Not to be beaten, I left the bike on this like mountain path, hill path, whatever you want to call it, and I just walked the rest of the way up in my silly cycle helmet and my cycling shoes just to get to the top so I could take a couple of pictures. Despite normally shooting female models, I love urbex photography too, and it means you're not limited by another person. You can just go off exploring on your own and see what you can find. These photos are just raw plus black and white preset applied, and then I boosted the contrast a bit to give a bit more punch to the images. I was struggling to walk up the hill in my cycling shoes and silly cycling helmet, and then coming back down was even more difficult because it was pretty slippy. The view from the top was pretty spectacular, and I loved the way the path curved round the top. The curve made for some really nice pictures, I thought, both up and down, and I just tried every angle I could think of before it was time to go back down. On the way down I took a few more shots of the turbines and then back to see if my bike was still there, and it was, luckily. Can I recommend this lens? I would say yes. I think size-wise it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, as I say, I used it mostly on the SL camera, but on a M body or on a screw mount camera, obviously, the results are fantastic. And I think the size is particularly a strong factor. As you saw in the images, it gets sharper as you stop down. I think from f4, f5.6, it's really sharp with pretty decent contrast. Maybe a little bit soft wide open at f2.5, usable by f2.8. Obviously, it depends on your taste. I don't think it's as good as the more expensive Leica Summarit discontinued 50mm f2.5, the one I have. Both the same size, but the Leica is probably 3 times more expensive, I think. I think the flare resistance is much better than the Elmar, even though the Elmar is slightly smaller collapsed. They're both a similar weight and not that different size-wise. It's what you do that counts. I was really impressed with this little lens, and if you're looking for something small, as I say, for both screw mount or M mount via a little adapter, highly recommend. To see reviews on the Summarit or the Elmar, watch these videos next.